This is video 17, and what we're talking about now, again, is monarchy. We're talking about governments that really are believers in Thomas Hobbes. Generally, the belief that people are bad, as a general rule. So, we're talking about a monarchy. Okay, and of course, when you think about a monarchy, of course, what you're thinking about are kings, queens. You think about Queen Elizabeth, for example. Japan has a monarchy. There's several countries around the world that have a monarchy. Okay, and the framers of the United States Constitution deliberately did not want to create a monarchy. So in their structure of government, they were rebelling against a monarchy. Okay, so in the end, what is a monarchy? A monarchy is a belief in a divine right to rule. Simply put, it is a belief that a family was chosen by God to rule. Okay? That's simply it. This family was chosen by God to rule. That's why in England, the Queen is the head of the Church of England. Okay? A church that was created by a distant relative of hers, King Henry. Okay? Saudi Arabia has a monarchy too. They also claim that the Saud family was chosen by God to rule. Now you think about that and you go, how do you argue against that? How do you say, no, God didn't say that? Okay, and how do you get that belief? How did the family originally say, hey, God chose us to rule? Typically, the family won that right in battle and then claimed it as, well, God favored us in this battle, therefore God chose us to rule. All right, so we're talking monarchy. I think we all have an idea of monarchy. The big deal, the big problem with a monarchy is you got to have kids. You've got to keep that family going. If God chose your family to rule, you got to make sure that it actually can rule. Okay? And can rule not just now, but rule in future generations. So, this is just a big deal. You think, for example, about the royal family in England as a model, and you think about Prince Harry and his brother Prince William. Prince William will be the next king after his father becomes a king, Prince Charles right now. You think about the marital problems that Prince Charles had. You know, he married Princess Diana. They had 2 kids, but that marriage didn't work very well, and so he got a divorce, eventually married his longtime lover, Camilla. When Prince William got old enough to marry, there was great rejoicing, big marriage ceremony, and then they better have a kid, and they've had 3 kids now. There's pressure on them to generate the next group, the next monarch. And that's how the royal line passes. It passes from parent, or in some cases, it passes from father to son. In this case, Queen Elizabeth passed it down to her oldest child, Prince Charles, who passed it down to his oldest child, Prince William, who will pass it down to his oldest child, if things work correctly. Okay? Now, I just got to say that this royal thing is difficult. You've got to have the next generation. And I want to describe to you what happened in Japan. Because Japan is a model of a tough situation. Okay? So, Japan has an emperor. It was originally an empire. So instead of a king, it has an emperor. You know, same sort of powers, etc. At the end of World War II, Emperor Hirohito, who was treated as a god by his people, he's the one who announced that the United States government had demanded their surrender, and they surrendered. that the World War II was over. Well, he had a son who served, and then that son had another son. Okay? The royal line has to pass on in Japan to males. Now, the royal family in Japan has been in power for more than 2,000 years. Think about that. That's a long stretch of this family being in charge. So, here we go. What happened was that in the 1990s, the royal family of Japan had this eldest son. Well, he didn't seem to be interested in girls. And you have to have the next generation, so he better get interested in girls. High school, he didn't go out with anybody. In college, he wasn't interested in going out with girls. And the reason for it, apparently, is pretty simple. He's gay. So, because he's gay, what happens? Well, it's a problem. So, what took place was they set him up with various women to see if he would be interested, but he was not interested. And they complained, etc., etc. You know, you need to have a wife so we can have the next generation. Finally, well after college, he found a woman, and that's what their marriage is, we don't know. But anyway, finally, they got together. They had a royal wedding and all that stuff. And then after the royal wedding, a decent period of time until we need a child. So, no child was coming. Remember, the crown prince was gay. No child was coming. So, what happens? The royal family announces that this prince and his bride would then spend the days when she is fertile, when she's ovulating, would spend that time up in the royal bedroom. There would be no royal duties at all. Okay? So, that's what happened. They, during this time period, they were supposed to get together and have sex. By the way, this was announced publicly. That's how I read about it. It was announced publicly. So, they had to get together, and then, lo and behold, after several months, the princess got pregnant. Great rejoicing in the land. But then she had a miscarriage, so they took some time off, and then they started up again. Again, publicly announced that a couple days each month while the princess is ovulating, they will be locked in their bedroom to get on with their royal duty. And this time, of course, there was, a lot of speculation what's going on. But anyway, eventually the news came out that she was pregnant, and she had a child. Okay? Great rejoicing in the land. Turned out to be a girl. Only supposed to be male heirs, but with some adjustment to the Japanese Constitution, they can fix that. So, everybody was much more relieved. Then the story came out. And it's a really interesting story. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm simply reporting rumors here. But the story was that the prince was not the father of the child. The story is that his dad was the father of the child because he was not either able or willing to produce a child, to have sex with his wife. Well, they needed a child. They needed an heir. The royal family must continue, so the crown prince stepped in and did his duty. So, anyway, that's the story. That shows you sometimes the length that people will go to keep a royal line going. That crown prince now, he abdicated. His son, the prince, is now the crown prince. He is in charge in Japan in the symbolic sense. They have a democratically elected government, but they do have this royal family. So, just wanted to share that with you so you understand what goes on in a royal family. You have to keep the line going. So that concludes then, this being tape 17, that concludes the talk about Thomas Hobbes and the three types of government that he would like: authoritarian, totalitarian, and a monarchy. We're going to switch next to types of government that John Locke would like. Remember, John Locke believed that people are good. So the type of government that he really likes is a democracy, and that's up next.